Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about one of the most important human abilities, language. Thoughtful, our topic is called the fabric of humanity, understanding language. In this lesson, we will explore what language is, why it is so important for human society, how it influences the way we think, and why linguists describe it as a system of signs and symbols. By the end of this presentation, we will see that language is much more than a tool for speaking. Excited, it is one of the main foundations of human thought, culture, identity, and social life. Let us begin with a basic but very important question. What is language? Curious, language is not simply a list of words that people memorize and repeat. It is a highly organized and rule-governed system of communication. It helps people share ideas, express emotions, ask questions, give instructions, and pass information from one person to another. Language can be understood in three main ways. First, it is a system because it has structure, grammar, patterns, and rules that members of a speech community understand and use. Second, it is a tool because with a limited number of sounds and words we can express an unlimited number of thoughts. Thoughtful, third, it is a foundation because without language, society, culture, education, and even knowledge itself could not fully develop in the way we know today. Language makes human cooperation possible and allows civilization to grow. Language also plays a central role in society. It helps people build communities, create relationships, and work together. Thoughtful, through language, people organize families, schools, governments, and entire civilizations. It is one of the main forces that keeps society connected. Another important function of language is transmitting knowledge. Human experience does not disappear from one generation to the next because language preserves it. Curious, through stories, books, lectures, conversations, and written records, people pass on traditions, values, beliefs, discoveries, and scientific achievements. Language also helps establish identity. The way people speak may reflect their region, education, culture, social group, or even personality. In this way, language does not only help us communicate with others. Reflective, it also shows who we are and where we belong. Every conversation can be seen as a bridge between minds. Thoughtful, when we speak, we do more than exchange information. We connect our inner worlds with the worlds of other people. Language makes it possible for one person to express thoughts and for another person to understand them. Every language also offers a unique way of seeing and describing reality. Curious, different languages reflect different histories, cultures, and ways of life. That is why learning a language is not only learning vocabulary and grammar. It is also entering a new cultural and mental world. Now let us move to one of the most fascinating questions in linguistics. Curious, what is the relationship between language and thought? Does language shape thought, or does thought shape language? This question is often connected with the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. According to this idea, the language people speak may influence the way they perceive and categorize the world around them. For example, different linguistic systems may affect how people understand time, space, color, or emotions. The presentation gives an example that some languages do not have a separate word for blue, and as a result, speakers may have difficulty distinguishing blue from green as clearly as speakers of other languages do. This does not necessarily mean that language completely controls thought. However, it suggests that language can influence perception in subtle but important ways. Thoughtful, so language and thought are deeply connected, and this connection works in both directions. A very useful metaphor in this presentation is the idea that language works like a pair of glasses. Glasses do not change the world itself, but they change how the world appears to the person who is looking. Thoughtful, in a similar way, language may shape the way speakers notice, remember, and organize their experiences. People who speak different languages do not only use different words. In some cases, they may also pay attention to different aspects of reality. Curious, each language gives its speakers a particular perspective. This idea helps us understand why language diversity is valuable. Different languages do not simply repeat the same reality in different sounds. They offer different ways of understanding the same world. Another major idea in the presentation is that language is a system of signs. Thoughtful, this view is strongly connected with Ferdinand de Saussure, one of the founders of modern linguistics. He explained that every linguistic sign has two closely connected parts. The first part is the signifier. This is the physical form of the sign, for example, a sound, a written word, or even a gesture. The second part is the signified. This is the concept or mental image that comes to mind when we hear or see the sign. Curious, the third important element mentioned here is convention. Convention means the shared agreement within a community that connects a form with a meaning. So, meaning in language does not exist naturally by itself. It exists because members of a society collectively accept and use signs in the same way. The presentation then broadens the idea of signs. Thoughtful, it reminds us that signs are everywhere, not only in spoken or written language. Road signs, mathematical symbols, musical notation, and visual icons also carry meaning. These systems work because sender and receiver share the same conventions. This means that human communication is not limited to words alone. Curious, people live in a world full of signs, and language is one of the most developed and powerful sign systems among them. One of the key principles of linguistics is that the connection between a word and its meaning is usually arbitrary. This means there is no natural reason why a particular sound should represent a particular object. Curious, for example, there is nothing in the sound of the English word tree that naturally makes it the correct label for a tall plant. The same object has different names in different languages: tree in English, arbor in French, baum in German, and tai in Swahili. These words sound completely different, but they point to the same concept. Thoughtful, this shows that language depends not on nature, but on social agreement. People understand words because their community accepts and uses them consistently. The arbitrary nature of the sign is not a weakness. In fact, it is one of the greatest strengths of language. Thoughtful, because words do not need to physically resemble the things they describe, language can refer not only to visible objects, but also to abstract ideas, imaginary worlds, the past, and the future. Language becomes stable and meaningful through social use. Curious, when a community repeatedly uses signs in the same way, those signs become understandable, functional, and culturally powerful. This is why convention is essential for communication. Language is not static. It changes continuously together with society. New technologies, cultural contact, social change, and historical events all influence the way people speak and write. Thoughtful, new words appear, old words change meaning, dialects interact, and sometimes languages disappear while new forms emerge. The presentation gives clear examples such as selfie, ghosting, and viral. Curious, these words became common in everyday speech quite quickly. This shows that language is alive and responsive to social reality. It develops because human life also develops. In this sense, language is not a fixed museum object. Excited, it is a living system. To conclude, language is one of the defining traits of humanity. It shapes thought, supports society, transmits culture, and allows people to create meaning through shared signs. Thoughtful, it is both deeply personal and profoundly social. Through language, people understand the world, express themselves, and build connections with others. This presentation has shown us three important final ideas. First, language influences the way we think and perceive reality. Second, language binds communities together and carries culture across generations. Third, meaning in language comes not from nature, but from convention and shared human agreement. Thoughtful, so, to study language is to study humanity itself. When we understand language more deeply, we also understand more about thought, society, culture, and the human future. Inspired, thank you for your attention.